There we go. Well, once again, I'm Steve Beck in Morris, Illinois. And as usual, I have the pleasure of getting things kicked off on Sunday nights for the Success Partners Team Zoom. And tonight's a little bit special for me because I have to try to do an introduction and not get myself in trouble when I do it. But we will start, as we always do, with our signature message. And tonight, for the signature message, all I have to do is point upstairs to Linda Beck. Linda is a director with the company as well as my life and business partner. And Linda, it is all yours.
Thank you, Steve. Steve didn't tell you my background is in mortgage underwriting, and it's a joy to be married to Steve, just to say. The signature message tonight, you can all say this with me as I do usually in the evening or in the morning when other people are saying it. We are part of a growing team of entrepreneurs with a shared mission to protect and empower 2 million families and small businesses with Legal Shield's network of law firms and world-class identity theft services. What we do matters, and we are looking for help. And back over to Leigh Perry, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Big hand for Linda Beck. Whoop, whoop. Appreciate you doing that, folks. When I first started networking for Legal Shield, I didn't know what to say, but I had memorized the signature message. So I was able to use bits and pieces of it. When people would ask me, it didn't make that pit in my stomach hurt because I knew what I needed to say. So thank you so much, Linda. And now it is my honor and privilege to pass the Zoom call over to Miss Annette Zobar, our story facilitator now in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Thank you so much, Leigh, and Linda and Steve, you too. What a great start to this Zoom. As Leigh says, it's story time. My name is Annette Zobar, Gulfport, Mississippi, background QuickBooks consulting. You know, if you're new to these calls or to the team, you might be wondering, why are these stories important? Why do we do them every week? Well, stories are how we share the incredible impact Legal Shield has on our lives, our members, our associates. They motivate us. They help us make connections with our prospects. And they're especially important until you have stories of your own, because you can borrow these stories that you're about to hear. In fact, I borrow stories all the time. So when you listen to the stories, take notes. What's the story about? How did they tell it? What's their background, location? So you can borrow that story or bring them in on a three-way call when it's appropriate for you to help make a connection. So our first story, we are heading over to Colorado to hear from Mr. Paul McAllister. You're on.
Thank you much, Annette. Yeah, Paul McAllister here, Greeley, Colorado, background construction and as a construction manager. And I had a beautiful experience about 2 weeks ago. I was reserving a rental car for my reunion trip, family reunion trip back to Nebraska this coming Friday. And I went on to Enterprise, and where I rent my cars from. And I decided, remembered to first go in and do a search without my discount code. And I did that search, and it came up $120 per day. And then I went back and entered the code and did the search again, and it dropped it down to $48 per day. And I was just amazed, and it saved me $235.46 on a 3-day car rental. And so I've been telling that story to quite a few people. And actually before the call tonight, I made a follow-up call to a potential member, and I left that on his voicemail. So super excited about that, and hope that helps all of you. Back to you, Annette.
Thank you so much, Paul. That Members Perks program that we have, that almost paid for an entire year's of service. So it's important that we share that story with people. Now, our second story is we're going to go back down here to Gulfport, Mississippi, where I have a story to share. 2 times this week, I was talking to existing members, not even about Legal Shield, just, usual chit chat about life. I learned that the first member needed some contracts written. He already had the old $39 small biz plan, and I realized I had never told him about the new plan, that for only $250, he could have a contract created from scratch. He instantly wanted to upgrade when I told him about it. And then the second member, he has a personal plan only. And as we're chit-chatting, it turns out he's thinking about forming a business, and he didn't realize we could help with that. He will be adding a home-based business supplement. But in the meantime, he referred me to his sister who is starting a business right away. And she became a new launch member the next day. Here we are, memberships gained by just continuing relationships, listening, and sharing information. Big lesson I learned about that. Talk to my members, build relationships, and keep the information in front of them. So remember, stories are important. And when you have one, whether it's an opportunity, a membership, or a membership perk story like Paul had, it's a great idea to share it with the team. Just reach out to me and volunteer. I now have the honor of turning the Zoom back over to my workout partner and a great mentor, Ms. Leigh Perry.
Thanks so much, Annette. And if you're new to the team and new to Legal Shield and aren't sure what launch is, get back to your sponsor or to someone else on this call. And they'll be glad to share that information with you. Well, this is a little bit of the Beck and Beck show tonight, because for our What's My Line interview with an associate, I get to interview Steve Beck, our music master. Yay! All right. So Steve, let's get started. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Oh, that could take up half an hour all by itself.
Oh, wait, I got to
It's
set the
pretty-
timer. Hold on. I got to set the timer. Because both of us will talk forever, I know. All right.
You know that.
All right, I'm ready.
Well, I've got a varied background. I've been in restaurant management. I've owned a sports collectibles store. My last real job in the corporate world was is an accounts payable person for a major Japanese corporation, and that went away about 12 years ago now.
Wow. So when did you find out about Legal Shield and how?
Well, actually, the music thing ties into that, because I got laid off from my last job when the whole Enron mess happened. And there were about 7,000 Arthur Andersen CPAs suddenly unemployed in Chicago. And that was right when my company got bought out and we were all given a small severance package and shown the door. So I was having a lot of trouble finding a job. And what I ended up doing, and Linda pointed me in this direction, so I have to thank her for that, is I started a disc jockey service. Kind of an unusual career move for an accountant, but that's what I did. And when I did that, I knew, among other things, I needed legal advice. I had a lot of questions. I joined my local chamber, and in a leads group in that chamber, I met Timur Halligan. And guess what we talked about? So we had a meeting shortly after we met, and 20 minutes later, I was a member, and burned up the phone lines to our law firm in Chicago. Loved the service, started telling other people about it. And this was when Timur was still pretty much just selling memberships. He was just getting to the point where he was going to start building his team. And so at first, he didn't say anything to me about the business side of Legal Shield, but that came a little bit later.
That's fantastic. And so you jumped on board, but Linda kept her regular 9 to 5, 8 to 5.
She did.
Up until just recently when she retired. So now you mentioned that you joined a leads group in the chamber, and I know that networking has been a really important part of you growing your business. Talk a little bit about how you've used networking and what particular group you enjoy the most.
Well, I've had some failures and some successes. That original chamber where I met Timur, of course, he was doing Legal Shield there, so I couldn't. I was in it for my DJ business anyway. So I looked at a couple of other chambers in the area, and the issue or problem was that Timur is so good at coaching his associates to join chambers and join the leads groups. So every time I found another leads group, there was already another Legal Shield person in it. So I started looking on the map and I thought, where can I go where I won't be bumping into other associates at every chamber event I go to? And I found Morris, where we live now. There were and still are no other Legal Shield associates in the local chamber here. So that's been good, but where I've had my most success is when I joined BNI. It's for those of you who aren't familiar with BNI, it's like a chamber leads group on steroids. There's much more accountability, there's much more business passed back and forth, and there's much more emphasis on actual personal and business development. So BNI has been great. We also joined the Lions Club because we wanted to get involved in our community. That hasn't been very effective as far as us finding new business, but we've made a lot of good friends and done some good work through that.
And that's the way you give back to your community, one of the ways, through the Lions Club. Yeah, they're a great organization. So do you recommend BNI for everybody?
My initial instinct is to say yes. When Linda retired, we put her in another BNI chapter, so we've got 2 of them covered. But if I think about it, I don't think BNI is for everybody. It's a serious networking situation, and you have to work at it, and you have to be serious about it. And if you can't commit to that, it's fairly expensive, and I hate to see people throw money out the window. So I wouldn't recommend it to everybody, but just looking around at who's in the room here, there's no one with us tonight that I would not suggest take a look at BNI.
Well, and they can always offer to sub or visit to check it out first.
It's a good way to check it out.
Excellent. All right. Well, Steve, we've got the timer running, so you've got 20 seconds. What's your parting shot for the group?
My parting shot for the group is, I'll quote a band that Timmer's familiar with. What a long, strange trip it's been. We've been associates, it'll be 10 years in October, and we have met so many wonderful people and had the chance to help so many people. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate how you help us every Sunday night, getting the energy up and getting the music going. And the whole purpose of this What's My Line is just for everybody to get to know each other a little bit better in Success Partners. So thanks, Steve, for letting me interview you. And y'all, I didn't give him the question, so I know that was out of his comfort zone. So kudos to you, Steve. Yeah, I told him no. Awesome. Thanks again, Steve. All right. Jane is under the weather, but she is going to share some resources with us tonight. She's rallied just to share with us. Jane Lehman.
Yeah, I've got myself propped up here in bed. I've got a real bad sinus infection, but good evening, everyone. This is Jane Lehman in Boerne, Texas, and excuse me if I start hacking away here. I want to share something with you as soon as I get my screen share, because I'm not sure there's a lot of new associates here, and some of us who have been around a while forget about this. And that's not what I wanted to show you. Let me go back out of here. I don't know why that came up. Let me try this again. I love technology, right? This time it's going to do it for me. So we're going to prospect by Legal Shield. And this time, especially if you're new, you're going to prospect by Legal Shield on your computer, not on your phone. Because on your computer, you have the ability, if you look here, you go to resources, and then you come over here to where it says resources for app, because all of the resources that Legal Shield has are not automatically on your phone. So you're going to click on the resources for app and 2 lists come up. And if you'll notice on the left, resources not yet selected for on your app, on your phone, and the ones on the right are the ones that you already have on your phone. So if I wanted to add this one by Dave Hall, I simply click plus and off it goes. It's now in my list here on my phone. If you want to take one off, then you would simply negative, hit the minus button there, and it takes it back off. This way you have the tools that you need on your phone that are relevant to your business. You might want a lot more Legal Shield Espanol, or maybe some French Canadian stuff, LOJ. So you can get all of these different resources right there on your phone so that you are resource ready. And once you've gotten all those the way you want it, you simply hit save and close, and you're ready to go. You're going to restart your phone app, and then those things should all be available to you. And I'm going to cut it short because I'd much rather listen to our guest speaker tonight.
All right, thanks for making us resource ready, Jane, and keeping it short. Appreciate that. Dani Goeden has a very special guest this evening. Miss Goeden, take it away.
Thank you so much, Leigh. Appreciate that. I do have a special guest for us this evening. Many of you know him, but some of you don't. So I'm going to bring him up so that he can introduce himself as well. Mr. Don Wilson, welcome to our Team Zoom. We call this the Success Partners Team Zoom 2.0, as Leigh and I have been running this for the summer. And thank you so much for joining us. For those of them that don't know who you are, give us a quick rundown of who you are.
Oh, wow. Okay. Number one, appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. It's glad to see all the familiar faces, and always a pleasure to be on your call. And I apologize for missing last week. It was a tough day, so I just missed that part. But I understand Mr. Drennan covered as always for me and did a great job. My story, been married 48 years, 2 children. I just had our 4th final grandchild. He is 31 days old today, so we're excited about that. And have been with Legal Shield now for 21 years. And it's been an extraordinary ride. Many of you have heard my story, but real quick, I was a small business owner. I have owned now 13 companies over the last 40 years, and was searching. I was always looking for the right company, and trying to find the right thing. I was never afraid to start a company, buy a business, close a business down, take over a business. That never was a fear of mine whatsoever, but I just couldn't find the right company. And a dear friend of mine, Mr. Eddie Burford, which some of you may remember, called me one day and he said, Don, I found out where I'm going to make my next million. Do you want to play? And I ask all of you, if you had a Christian brother or sister that you knew, loved, and trusted, was already a proven millionaire with success in business, and said they were going to start another business and make another $1 million, would you go to that meeting? And I did. And it was Legal Shield. And I saw a lot of familiar faces from another company called the People's Network that I had been in for 3 years, and heard the stories. And I heard that presentation, and it was kind of like the testimonials were talking to me directly. I still think they singled me out on those testimonials that night. That's why testimonials are so important. Always have a variety, because you never know what's going to speak to your guests. And they were speaking to me that night, and I signed up on the spot. I was so excited. At the time that I signed, my wife and I had 5 companies, 202 employees. We were running 24 hours a day. We were passing each other in the night, and I literally was headed for a heart attack. We were to that stage in our life. We were successful. We were making 6 figures, but we had no life whatsoever. And I came home that night and I told Ellen, my wife, I said, honey, I'm so excited. I started another company and we're going to market attorneys. And I was so excited, and I didn't know why. She looked at me, she burst out crying. She did not cook, clean, or speak to me for a week. True story. But in my heart of hearts, my mother always taught me, when your gut tells you it's right, go with it. Don't argue with your gut. And my gut told me it was right. And in the first 6 months, I shut down, sold off, gave away, did what I needed to do so that I could focus on Legal Shield 100% of my time. In fact, it got so crazy and it was all happening so fast. My pastor came over to our home, kind of like an intervention of, what are you doing? And I said, no, and I take this from Frank Acoin, one of my favorite people in Legal Shield. He says, until you've seen what I've seen, heard what I've heard, and done what I've done, you don't know what I know. And those previous companies, all the things that I had done had prepared me for the world of Legal Shield. And so in my first 9 months and 4 days, as my claim to fame, I made my first $100,000 in commissions. I have had 3 people on my team do it faster than I did, darn it. But it's never been that bad since. And so I think I'm going to stick around. It's doing pretty well, and having some fun with this, and just getting to know a lot of folks and having some great time. So Ms. Goeden, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Well, I love that you answered like the first 3 questions without me even having to ask them. So thanks for that. What would you say has been the most uplifting part of being a Legal Shield associate so far?
All of us in life are going to go through stuff, whether it's health, whether it's marriage, whether it's children, whether it's death, whatever it happens to be. And when something tragic, exciting, wonderful, horrible, whatever happens in life, you want to have friends that will come around you. And Legal Shield, I have created the most amazing network of friends, and I can honestly say around the world, but many of them are on this screen, including Mr. John Drennan and his wife, Lynn, are 2 of our best friends. And the thing is, we all have those special people in life. If I needed to borrow money, I could probably call Mr. Drennan and he'd write me a check tonight or wire it to me, as I would him. You know, if I needed him to be here tomorrow, he would figure out how to get here. You know, I've been with him through tragedies of his life and challenges in his life and amazing, wonderful, exciting things in his life, and seeing his children grow up and him seeing my children grow up. So, you know, is the money awesome in Legal Shield? Yes. Is it great what we get to do in protecting and helping people? Yes. But you can't take away the friends. If Legal Shield went away today, I could still call most of you on this screen, Mr. Timmer Halligan, so many others on the screen. I see Jane Lehman, other folks that we've hung out with, Michael Thompson, Steve Beck, folks, Mr. Begley, all you guys, Ted Wilson, I could go on and on and on. But I would take those friendships to the grave with me if Legal Shield was no longer here. So to me, that's the greatest thing we've accomplished.
Wow, I would absolutely agree, and that is powerful. All right. What is your favorite Legal Shield story of how you've been able to help someone?
So many, so many. One of my favorite ones is I service the oil field industry a lot, being here in Texas. And I have one particular company that has 37 offices that my wife and I travel to, and I travel to two times a year. And I got a call from a gentleman one afternoon, and he was in his late 50s, early 60s. You know how when you answer the phone and you can tell instantly someone's in a panic or in tears. And it was Mr. Wilson. Mr. Wilson, this is John. I'll just use the word, his name, John. John, and I got a problem, and I think I need them there at attorneys of yours. Now, John didn't have a high school education. He was a rigger on an oil field. He's one of the guys that hung off those things in the middle of nowhere when it's 110 degrees. He's the guy making sure you and I got gas in our car. But he's up there. And he said, I need help. He said, me and my wife have been saving for 10 years. And I gave this man $20,000 for cash for a down payment on a house. And now he won't give it back because the house is already being lived in by somebody else. He sold it twice. And he was literally shaking. I could hear his body shaking on the phone. I said, John, hang on 1 second. I said, can you stay on the phone? He said, yes, because a lot of times they call me from those oil rigs and it's horrible connection, or they're on a satellite phone or things. I said, hang on. I three-wayed into Ross and Matthews, our Texas attorney. I explained what was going on. I said, can you help John? It's a dire situation. This man won't give his money back. And the attorneys, they put me through immediately. If you ask your law firm if you have an emergency, by the way, guys, they will put you through immediately if they can. And I'm blessed here in Texas. I have a great relationship with the law firm, and they did that. And they got on there with John. First thing the attorney says, Don, I've got this call. You can't be on. Hang up, and I'll call you back as soon as I'm done. I said, John, you call me as soon as you get off the line with the attorneys. John was able to, through tears, literally 60-plus-year-old man in tears, shaking, talk to the attorneys. And he called me back. He said, that man said he's going to help me. Is he really going to help me? I said, he's going to help you, John. Don't worry. In 48 hours, Ross and Matthews had a cashier's check delivered to that man for $21,050 for Legal Shield, because Legal Shield will kick butt when we need to for our members when they're done wrong by somebody that shouldn't do them wrong. That's what Legal Shield is for me.
Wow, that is, I'm stealing that story, but that is an amazing story. I can imagine how you felt as the person that showed them Legal Shield.
Dani, may I interrupt you?
Go for it.
I've got one more. I know Mr. Drennan's heard this one, but to me, it's powerful. And some of you others may have heard this. City of Galveston is one of my group accounts. And I had to go to all the different offices in the city of Galveston. And I had to go do the garbage man. And it was in the middle of December. And literally their offices was a tin building, a tin cover with a 55-gallon drum burning full of trash. That was their heat. And their lockers were outdoors. And they come and put their lunch pails in there and get their stuff. And they're all standing around the deal. I'm standing out there with gloves on, standing on paperwork, talking to the garbage man. Garbage trucks everywhere. We're at the dump. Imagine how it smells and what it's like. I was at the dump talking to these 20 guys. And I did my presentation. I only had 10 minutes. I did it. And I'm doing paperwork at the end. And this man's kind of standing off to the side. And, just understand who he was. And I'm just going to be very blunt. He was an older Black gentleman. He was standing there looking, and he was looking at his application. I was kind of getting to the end of my paperwork. And I looked up, and I swear to you, Dani, God spoke to me. He said, fill that man's paperwork out. And I looked at him. I said, sir, would you like me to fill that out for you? He said, that'd be real kindly of you, son. I said, let me have that. And I started getting the information from him. He said, I got 2 daughters that are graduating, twin daughters that are graduating from high school, and they're going to go to college. And these colleges keep sending us all this paperwork. He said, well, then they're attorneys of yours. He said, will they read that stuff for me and tell me what it is so I don't mess up my little girl's future? I said, yes, sir, they will. He said, okay, son, fill that out. And I filled it all the way out, and I turned that clipboard around, and Danny, he reached up and signed with an X. He handed me the paperwork back. He goes, I got to go. And he ran out and he jumped. If you've ever seen a big garbage truck, the guys that hang on the back, this is a guy in his 50s or his 60s, and he's hanging off the back of a deal, and it's 30 degrees out there. And as he goes by, he looks at me and he mouths the words, thank you. And he went off to pick up the garbage. That's Legal Shield.
I have no words. I'm gonna cry. Thank you. That was powerful. Wow. All right, last 30 seconds before I continue to cry. Any last tips, words of advice that you would give us all as associates?
I got something from Platinum John Drennan last year that really made a difference for me. And sometimes you think after 21 years, you can't learn, but you can. And I had forgotten that a little bit. You know, you think sometimes you get through the ranks and you've learned it all, but you don't. And we need to all be learning. So I'll leave you with this, because I had done well. I had done good in Legal Shield. But Platinum John Hoffman said, Don, don't let good get in the way of great. Don't let
I'm
good.
pretty sure he said that to me. Yeah.
And that was a powerful statement for me. It hit me home. So that's the best I can give you. Don't stop. Just because you've done good, just because you've done well, just because you've done okay, do better. You can.
Absolutely.
Because you don't know where the next garbage man or the next guy hanging off an oil rig is going to need you to step up, or somebody that you train to step up to protect that family. That's what we do every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Wilson. Those were amazing stories. Definitely showed us why we do what we do. Very powerful. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I have our next segment, which is our motivational moment, and I get the honor and privilege to head out to Miss Sheila Bird out in Georgia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dani. I appreciate you. And I am just, my heart's beating right now. Thank you so much, Mr. Don Wilson. So our quote is, what you vividly imagine, ardently desire, sincerely believe, and enthusiastically act upon must inevitably come to pass. And that's by Paul J. Myers. It's one of my favorite quotes, inspirational quotes. Carlos and I both love this one. He speaks to you because he's talking about seeing it and believing it. But most importantly, the steps that we must take is to act on it with enthusiasm. That's so important. And Legal Shields gives us all those action steps. So all we need to do is just keep taking the steps. Back to you, Dani. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to head out to Miss Leigh Perry to close us out.
I'm sorry, I was making notes. Thank you so much, Miss Sheila. Act on it with enthusiasm. I love it. I've got to look that quote up. Thank you so much. Folks, this is why you need to be on this call and why we need to get all of our associates and teammates on this call, because you never know what you're going to need to hear until you hear it. So thanks so much to everybody for being on, and for us having the Beck and Beck show, and Don Wilson as our special guest, and Miss Sheila wrapping us up in such a fantastic way, and Jane coming in from her sick bed to remind us to update our apps, our Prospect by Legal Shield app. And now, Steve, we're back out to you to wrap us up with a video as soon as you stop recording, my friend. And don't forget that if you have folks that were not able to be on, they can access this from the calendar, and that's successpartnerscalendar.com.